I think we all recognize this console right here. The Wii. In 2006, it redefined gaming forever. It outsold the Xbox 360 and PS3, brought gaming to people who never touched a controller before, and gave us some of Nintendo's biggest hits. But what if I tell you that the Wii was in fact a failure? Would you believe me? If you don't trust me, just watch this video till the end, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I have to make this clear. The Wii didn't target hardcore gamers. Instead, it focused on created games that could be easily enjoyed and played by casual gamers or non-gamers. Non-gamers are either children, either old people. I think you already knew the info that I told you earlier. And I believe that you know that this is mainly the reason why the Wii is the 7th best-selling console ever and it had sold 107 million copies. But what if I tell you that from those 107 million people who bought a Wii a couple years ago, a vast majority of them has stopped buying games shortly after? Why, you may ask? Well, the answer is really simple. A vast majority of people who bought a Wii a couple years ago, the casual gamers, found Wii Sports, the game that they received for free when buying a Wii, to be more than enough to satisfy their desires from a video game. It was easy to pick up, fun, relaxing, and also it supported up to 4-player local multiplayer support. Overall, it was just awesome. But by any means, it shouldn't stop you from playing other great video games. For example, I bet that the vast majority of people who bought Wii Sports would have enjoyed other titles much more than this one. For example, Mario Galaxy. If you don't believe me, just pay attention for a bit. Let's take a moment to compare how many units did popular Nintendo franchises sell on Wii comparing to the Switch, which till now has sold 150 million units. I'll start out with Mario Kart. Mario Kart Wii has sold 37.4 million copies, while Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold 67 million copies. This means that 35% of Wii owners had Mario Kart Wii in their video game library, while 45% of Switch owners have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in their video game library. Also, keep in mind the fact that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still being produced and sold by Nintendo to this day. Now, let's take another example, the Super Smash Bros. Series. Super Smash Bros. Brawl has sold on Wii 13.3 million copies, while Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has sold on Switch 35 million copies. In percentages, it means that 13% of Wii owners have owned the Super Smash Bros. Game, while 23.8% of Switch owners have owned the Super Smash Bros. Game. Now, let's take a moment to compare the 3D Mario franchise. Super Mario Galaxy has sold on Wii 12.8 million copies, while Super Mario Odyssey has sold on Switch 27 million copies. In percentages, this means that 12.6% of Wii owners have owned Galaxy, while 18.3% of Switch owners have owned Odyssey. You can see for yourself what a big gap is there between games sold on Wii compared to games sold on Switch. Now, I'll talk about why hardcore gamers stopped buying games shortly after the console's release. Well, I don't really blame them. The Wii had really bad third-party game support. This happened because the Wii was really underpowered for that time. It was basically GameCube hardware with tiny upgrades put into a Wii case. This resulted in this console not having HD graphics and the much weaker CPU and GPU compared to the competitors, the PS3 and the Xbox 360. This meant that the Wii wasn't able to run more intensive third-party games that were really popular like back then. Some examples are Need for Speed, FIFA, Assassin's Creed, Red Dead Redemption, GTA 4, and Call of Duty. You may know the fact that some of these games eventually got ports on Wii, but they ran really poorly, unfortunately, for Wii users. This meant that they were severely downgraded. Because of this, developers shortly after stopped producing ports for the Wii because it simply wasn't worth it most of the times. But for this reason, you may think that the vast majority of hardcore gamers started playing first-party games developed by Nintendo. But unfortunately, you would be wrong. The vast majority of people started getting bored of motion controls shortly after the console's release. This shouldn't be that big of a problem, but almost every game had them. People found motion controls to be childish and gimmicky, so they stopped playing games that contained them. For these reasons, a lot of Wii's ended up gathering dust in either a drawer or a box. So the Wii tried being a console that everyone would enjoy playing, but in the end, only a tiny fraction of the people who bought it ended up playing it consistently. It is really a pity if you think about it. The motion controls were really fun, at least in my opinion, and you also had a great library of games to choose from, but unfortunately, only a couple of titles were played. This is quite a sad story indeed. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you could give me a like, give me a subscribe, and also leave me some feedback in the comments down below. If you do at least one of these three things, I'll be really grateful. I was David. Bye. Have a nice day.